Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a top secret Saturday edition of Chilling Wargamers. So secret, only the millions of Facebook users know it's going on. I'm your co-host, Andy2D6, along with my regular cohort, the Chicken Slayer, Mr. Spud Tate.
Yes, with base. How is it?
Ready for this top secret expedition we're going on here, Mr. Spud?
It was so secret that I didn't even know it was going on. That's how secret it was.
Uh-oh. We can hear ourselves.
We can hear ourselves.
I've got the video playing in the background. How unprofessional is that? Oh, I fixed it now. And we're joined by our guest, the legendary, the gargantuan presence in the community, Teri of Geek Sundry fame.
Hello! Hello.
How are you today?
I am awake. Yeah, I'm awake. I normally look like this at 10 in the morning. That's just normal.
This is going to be a test, you know, because people have wondered if you are actually so energetic all the time. So we thought, I know, let's get her on first thing in the morning and see what she's like.
I haven't had coffee. I don't drink coffee, though, so it's a thing, but yeah, no, this is me. Isn't that scary?
Is it possible?
Can you imagine me on coffee?
Is it possible that your brain has a permanent kind of coffee gland in it somewhere?
Possibly. You know, I think if that were the case, though, it makes a lot of sense. I'm energetic, but shockingly enough, I can be extremely bitter. So there's something there. There's something there.
We'll try not to expose that side of you too much on the show today.
Fair enough.
So, for those few people who may not be aware of your mammoth presence in the community, you should tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Teri. I started making videos on YouTube like in 2011. Actually, I shouldn't say started. I made one video in March of 2011. And it was like a 20-minute long haul video. It's terrible. It's still up on my channel if you want to look at it. I look back at it and I'm a little bit horrified, but literally I wanted to make wargaming videos that look like makeup guru videos, and I still do. I still kind of want to make the videos that look like just a girl showing off the stuff that she's got, stuff that she's excited about, stuff that she reviews, whatever. But instead of makeup, it actually ends up being wargaming stuff, which is what I do. So I made that video, I let it go for a little while, and then I hit a point in my life where I was just like, I don't think I'm going to play roller derby anymore. What am I going to do with all this time I found? And so I came back to YouTube. I started vlogging again, and just around the time that I started vlogging, a couple months after, I found Geek Sundry was doing a call-out, like an audition process for vloggers, because they were looking to add some more vloggers into their already existing vlogger channel. So I made a couple videos to audition for that, and lo and behold, I got in. So ever since, I've been obviously making videos on my personal channel still, but also making videos for Geek Sundry every 2 weeks about wargaming.
It's interesting what you said about how you were presenting your videos in a slightly different style. Because when I was looking at some of the early ones, the first thing that struck me is there's something different about this presentation. So, if you were taking from the whole makeup video community, taking a bit of their style, because that's a huge area, isn't it?
It's massive. It's ridiculously massive. And
they must be doing something right.
Well, I think it's when I talk about myself and what I do, what I bring that's different to YouTube in terms of like videos, I call myself the Rachel Ray of miniature wargaming. So if you guys aren't familiar with Rachel Ray, she's like this American chef who is she's a television celebrity cook, and she makes things look super easy. She's not like Anthony Bourdain or any of like you know, Gordon Ramsay. She's not super high quality. Like, she's the girl who shows up at the supermarket and is like, look, I don't need to chop onions because they come chopped at the grocery store. So it's a little bit horrifying to people who are like food connoisseurs, but at the same time to people who have, you know, dabbled in it, or people who have been intimidated by the notion of cooking. It's really accessible, and that's kind of the way I wanted to always approach it. And makeup videos, they make things look super easy, like, oh yeah, gluing fake eyelashes onto your real eyelashes, that's really easy. Watch this video on how. And it's not necessarily true, but if you can make it seem easy, if you can get people to just try it, that's how they fall in love with it. And that's always been my approach.
Were you doing any videos before you got into this whole area?
Okay, no, actually, I didn't start making videos until, well, my husband and his best friend started a podcast a few years ago called Geek Gamercast, and we talk a little bit. I call myself the uncredited producer because I bought the liquor for it, and it's a lot of liquor. But we would talk about like the topics a little bit beforehand. And I was sick of my husband stealing all of the things I would say to say it on his podcast and then take the credit for it. So I was like, I'm going to make some videos so it's me saying the things I want to say about the hobby and actually bringing my insights and bringing them forward through my own voice. And that's where it kind of started. It was watching other people make things and then being excited and trying to make them myself.
There seems to be quite a decent level of professionalism on the video quality, production values, and all that kind of stuff from very early on in your videos.
You know, that's a real compliment. Thanks. You know, that first video with me sitting in front of a camera, like as a webcam, and like that first video. It took me, I think, 4 hours to do, and that includes like I did it as a wonder, and I didn't edit it, and it was awful when I look back. But it's because I'd watch it again and I'd be like, not happy with that, garbage, try again, garbage, try again. And I still do that now. I'm at a point where, you know, if I don't like how something is presented, I'll cut it, or I'll figure it out, or I'll reshoot the whole thing. And even my early videos, those vlogs I'd take 5 or 6 stabs at it before I was actually ever happy with one enough to post it. So yeah, that's a real compliment though.
Because they looked quite professional early on, and you've got this kind of high energy, I was going to say character, but it is just you. But did you find that anyone was suspicious or wary of you at all? Thinking that perhaps you were in it as some kind of business venture, maybe?
You know, I've never encountered that. I think partly because there was a student documentary about like me online before I even kind of started vlogging. That student doc was up well in advance, and it shows me actually I organized, before that I used to organize tournaments for 40K, and so it was a documentary following me and the group that I was organizing with for a Horus Heresy event, before Horus Heresy was a cool thing, so I was on the bandwagon first. I also had a blog I wrote about 40K and my thoughts on, you know, all the things, essentially, how I had a love letter to Robin Credes online for a little while, and how I wished he would write the Tau Codex, and then when it wasn't him, I'm still okay with that, because, you know, I was really happy about the amount of love and fluff that was being brought forward. But I think that my circle had already kind of been familiar with me online, in terms of, like, if you Googled my name, I might come up on an episode of Jada Gamercast, or I might come up in that documentary or whatever. Like, it was there, and I think partly to the personality that comes out, this person, like, I'm not always like this, but when I'm talking about the hobby, I'm this excited and animated because it's something I'm passionate about, and I think that comes through because I used to sell the product as well, probably. Like, I have to be honest, like, I used to wear a red shirt back in the day when I was in university looking for work, so I think I still carry a little bit of that.
That's when you're allowed to game in stars, and it was fun. People on the Games Workshop stuff liked you.
Oh my gosh, you know, I'm critical of Games Workshop in a lot of, like, some of my videos I'm pretty critical, and some of the stuff I say, like, if you hang out with me and talk with me about, like, what I think about some of the models Games Workshop has released over time, and even to this day, you know, I'm generally okay with where they position themselves, like, as a business. I recognize what they are, and the fact that they're a luxury product, and they're priced as a luxury product, that's kind of where I settled on. I'm like, well, if I didn't buy a Tau army, I would have like 4 Prada bags. This is what it is. Like, if I didn't collect and paint and play the game, I'd have other luxury products. But that's where they're positioned now. They're not like the everyman's Lego, and even Lego is up in the prices too. So I think that I'm okay with that, but a lot of people tend to think that I'm like a Games Workshop apologist or Games Workshop.
And you also seem to be into a lot of board games.
Because I'm not as...
Oh, you broke up a bit there.
Yeah. Oh.
Your connection slowed down, and then I thought, maybe I should start talking. Maybe she's finished. And then it came back, and it just like, blub, 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 and then there you were again talking.
Oh, the weirdness that ensues on the internet, hey?
You may continue.
It's like we're talking across an Atlantic Ocean or something, through space and time.
Almost like that.
Almost. You know, when it comes to board games and stuff, that, like, I think that comes from just, I used to play a lot of board games when I was younger. I used to love those types of games. I used to love, as awful as it sounds, so my father taught me chess when I was like 5. So I used to play a lot of chess, and then when I got older, I would play Monopoly, but not like a nice, friendly Monopoly. I was an awful bully because I played with brothers who were like much older than me, so they would use emotional blackmail to try to get what they wanted out of me. And so that's a tactic I just took into my more aged strategy. And so when I found wargaming, I had already been playing like games like StarCraft, and those played a very heavy influence in my life at the time. And getting into wargaming was kind of just like bringing it into the real world and having the social interaction that I really love and crave, because, you know, I'm obviously not a painter, I'm not a sculptor, I'm not a converter. Like, the things that I love about this game is about the hobby and the community and being in the same room as someone else. It's the same reason why I don't play games on Vassal, because the whole concept of that just, it drives me a little bit batty. I'm just like, why would you play a game like that when the point is to be in the same room and share that experience?
So did you get into miniatures first with 40k? Because you've branched out into a lot of other areas now, haven't you?
Yeah, I got into 40k. I think the story is actually in one of the docs. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we moved in together, and I was like trying to get some stuff out of his closet, and there was this like huge like office, like you're fired box, you know, the banker's box is up in the top corner of his closet, and I'm quite short, so I was up on like a stool, and I'm looking at this box that he's hidden up there, and it's like by itself, and I was like, I bet you that's his porn, because, you know, it was the age back before everyone had like super high speed internet. Is probably, I was expecting like a full freaking box full of magazines, so like, whatever. So I grab it, thinking it's gonna be like this heavy box, and I yank it, and it's light, and it makes this like this rattling noise as I pull it out, and it's because it's a box full of shoddily painted Tyranids.
And how disappointed you were.
I was like, what the hell? What are these? And then I think when I think about it, I think he was actually, if it had been porn, he would have been less embarrassed. Like, he's just like, okay, look, like, I was obviously geeky, like, he knew that I was geeky, we played StarCraft together, like, this is how he courted me, like, we'd like, freaking talk on BNet all the time, like, this is like the deal, right? So, you know, I'm looking at this box of poorly painted toys, and I'm like, what the hell? And he's like, okay, so this is a hobby of mine. Please don't judge me. I just can't play in the store, because back then you couldn't play at a Games Workshop unless you had a painted army, and he was so embarrassed by these models he didn't want to bring them out into the light. So I was like, I want to try painting them. Let me paint them. And so I painted his Tyranid army for him. He then gave me a Tau army to paint up, and that's just kind of how I got started in the hobby. I would show up to Veterans Nights on Thursday nights. I'd take the bus there, and we didn't, you know how when you start in the hobby, you're like, I'm gonna buy paints and models and the stuff I need to actually play, as opposed to maybe I should buy a transport case. So you have the university students who got like the ghetto is all hell, like Tupperware container full of like tissue wrapped models showing up at Veterans Nights. Yeah, that was me. That was me for a few years.
You know,
Yeah, I was the same. I think I had a shoebox and tissue and tea towels.
Oh my god, it was the worst of metal models too, right? Like it's like, you know, who needs art coat? Art coat's like $20. Like, I'll just paint more. I still have paint at home, and like that was, I think everyone goes through that phase. If you're getting in it like as a younger person, and it's why I'm such an advocate for cases as gifts, because like really, the likelihood someone's gonna buy a case for themselves if they don't have a case in the first place is very low. They're not going to see the value until they have that case and they're like, oh, my life has changed. I can carry my army in a way that's both convenient, non-embarrassing, and safe.
Yeah, I purchased one of the, you know, the small ones, when it like opened up and then clicked on. I bought that one instead of the actual big one because it fit in a rucksack.
Yes!
And then, like, no one didn't even know it. You see, chilling.
Well, you know what, too? I have had, like, 4 or 5 of those small cases. I've got one, like, right over there right now, just off screen. I love those cases. They are, like, the foam inside is really crappy, because they're all pre-cut and stuff, but the case itself is, like, it's a workhorse. I've never seen any one of them break, but those big cases, the big, large Games Workshop case, I will never recommend to anyone. They always break. There's so many fail points on them. They're brutal, and so if you're looking for a case, don't buy the big one.
We've got some A-list celebrities in the comments today as well.
Have we?
Oh my!
Brush for hire. I mean,
Brush
and then we've got
hire.
Wargamer Girl. Wargamer Girl says, "Hey Terry, how is your War Machine army coming along?"
Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, that War Machine army it's getting built. It's still like I'm still at a stage where I'm building it. I was getting some decent progress on it, and then Adepticon started creeping up on me, and I was literally painting some models to play the Bushido event, like at Adepticon. I basically, okay, so I actually had to pay the hotel an extra $250 because I got paint on the table that would come off, like that kind of painting, and it was worse too because like nobody at Adepticon sold paint. So yeah. Anyways, I was working pretty hardly on that, and then after Adepticon, I was recovering from Adepticon, and now it's 7th edition. It's kind of my progress has halted. I'm so sorry, Wargamer Girl. I'm so sorry, but I totally will get on it. It's one of those things that I'm just like, having read the 7th edition rulebook, and like I'm at a point now where I look at War like 40K. It's obviously not a competitive game anymore. Not with the comp builds and stuff. And there is going to be a place now where, essentially, if you're going to play this game competitively at a tournament, you're going to play a version of 40K. You're not going to be playing 40K. You're going to be playing the tournament organizer's version of 40K. And so ultimately, if you want to play a competitive game, it's going to be games like War Machine, and I think War Machine is picking up that mantle.
Yeah, because at Adepticon it were like the War Machine hall was probably as big as the 40K.
Oh my gosh, I bought a 2-player starter, and I'm splitting the starter with my husband, and so eventually we're gonna start doing like some Let's Plays, because I guess on my channel people have responded well to those types of things. So we're gonna try it and see. I want to play a game that I don't feel bad about, but at the same time I'm still getting used to the aesthetic. For me, when it comes to the universe stuff, 40K will always have my heart because the narrative in 40K is so incredible. It's so unbelievably incredible, and I actually know, like, I've met and hung out with some of the Black Library authors, and what they do to that universe is incredible. So for me, trying to get into another game, trying to buy into the universe is a little more challenging. And the aesthetic, I don't know. War Machine, I love War Machine, but oh my god, shoulder pad fetish? Like, really? Really?
Yes.
Yeah, we do love some shoulder pads here on Chilling Wargamers, don't we, Spud?
We are #1 for shoulder pads.
I think that, okay, this might be a false dichotomy here, but I think that War Machine's shoulder fetish is at least as big as Games Workshop's skull fetish.
Our dead body fetish.
Yeah,
Or dead body.
dead bodies decorating people's bases, they do like that as well. Before we move too far away from Adepticon, did you actually get a chance to sit down at all during that entire event? Because I thought I was busy, and then whenever I took a minute to rest, you would like zoom, zoom, zoom 5 or 6 times while I was sitting down.
Oh my gosh. It felt like, I like to say it was networking, but networking usually translates to like drinking with people and hanging out with a lot of people. So I did a lot of that into the wee hours. And so when I was out on the floor, it was really like, I need to get stuff done, because I'm usually sleeping in, recovering from 3 a.m. nights, or trying to get other stuff ready. Saturday was a crash day for me, because I had been networking like all the nights beforehand, and right before the Geek and Sundry Tabletop Day event, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a 1-hour nap, because I need to take some time for myself, or else I'm just gonna pass out in that room. So yeah, it was busy. I hope, like, I'm going to Gen Con, so I hope it's less busy. I don't know if it's gonna be or not. I can't make those promises, because I'm gonna be there with Geek and Sundry, and like, they're bringing a team and a contingent. I guess Will Wheaton's gonna be out there too, so we'll see how that goes. But like, I think Adepticon is big for me, because it's my people, right? It's our people. It's different to go to, like, I know a lot of the other vloggers, for example, are going to San Diego Comic-Con, and there's, as cool as that is as an event, it's not for me. And it's not where my people are necessarily there to celebrate the hobby that we all love.
Did you find yourself getting recognized a lot? Not just at Adepticon, but whenever you go to events now?
You know, I do sometimes. It's still surprising to me. I still like the guys I've been gaming with forever have always been like super chill about it, and they all are. I know some incredible like masterclass level painters, and like, you know, guys who've won, you know, Golden Demons and that sort of stuff. Like, really incredible, talented people, and they still treat me the same, which is cool, because I am deferent to their talent. I just think it's weird for someone like me to have the exposure that I have, so I'm still getting used to that. It was weird walking through, like, I barely had any time to even walk through the events at Adepticon, but when I did, people would be like, yeah, like, in the middle of games, hey, Teri, I'm like, wow, this is kind of weird, and I'm still getting used to that. Like, I remember my husband would be like, okay, so you need to go to the room right now at Adepticon. He'd be like, you need to go to the room. You need to go get your badge. We're going to go here. And he's like, don't get stuck in the elevator lobby. Don't get stuck. Because if I was there for a little too long, someone would talk to me, and if anyone says hello to me or anything like that, and they recognize me, I can't not but be grateful to them. I can't stop to not say thank you for supporting me, thank you for watching me, thank you for stopping to say hello to me. And I feel compelled to give them the time of day to actually like spend some time with them. So he knew that, and he knew that every time if I had to wait for an elevator, I'd be stuck in that lobby for at least 15 minutes, and that was the time he needed us to be gone. So he was kind of like my handler while I was out there.
Spud and I consider ourselves A-list now, because every time we go to an event, we're recognized by literally ones of people.
Ones of people? Yeah, that is...
One or two people.
You know, it's funny because my husband, he was saying that he wasn't expecting to get recognized either because he is like pretty podcast only, so his face is like very rarely seen or anything. But like people would make references to him and be like, oh, it's that dude who had the gummy shark shot. Like they would recognize him for a really obscure thing within his podcast, and that threw him away. And I think it's partly because we have a very small we have a community it's not necessarily small, but it's smaller than a lot of other geek communities, and it's very tight knit, and we have a way of supporting our own when they get out there, especially, and that's what I've seen a lot of. Because I was expecting people to like totally rag on me when I got out on Geek and Sundry, because I was exposing the hobby to, generally I recognized that a lot of the viewers on Geek and Sundry aren't necessarily wargamers, so I was kind of like introducing them to this hobby, and I was expecting to get a lot of backlash from experienced hobbyists, and I found that it was like the exact opposite, because we don't have the opportunity necessarily to get into the mainstream, and when we do have that opportunity, everyone's really supportive of it because we love this hobby so much.
Now, I'm sure you've got some things you'd like to discuss on the new edition of 40k, but before we get to that, we're going to enter the most delicious part of the show, and that is if Spud would like to prepare the sound effect. It is Poem of the Week. As soon as Spud can get that drum roll prepared.
Yeah, I'm just assembling my drum kit right now.
Ooh.
And
Come on, you can do it.
just fix my last cymbal on. And we're ready. Oh, you want it now?
In darkest Canada dwells a very passionate wargamer named Teri. Geek and Sundry is where she's most known, but for today she's proud to call this hangout home. Today she guests on her favourite show. That's Chilling Wargamers, don't you know? With the hard-hitting topics and in-depth analysis of the hobby that puts our wallets on dialysis. So join with us in welcoming our guest as we discuss, debate, laugh, and jest.
Delicious.
That's why we call it the most delicious part of the show.
It is pretty delicious. It is pretty delicious. Oh.
We'll have to make a recording of you saying that.
I'll just say it over and over again. I'll sell it as a ringtone, and see how much you can make off of it. How's that sound?
Sounds pretty good to me. Now
So,
then,
what is your view on the new edition of 40,000?
Okay, so
What do you think about this? Let's put in the psychic phase first. What do you think about that bit?
you know what? Okay, so I play Tau, and the psychic phase just makes me angry because I don't have one.
But you
But
have that little blue guy. Doesn't he do anything?
okay, so let me like. Normally, I would say, look, because my Tau army automatically comes with an Eldar ally to have a psychic phase with, like that's not a big deal. But that was 6th edition. That was times long ago. I think I can't talk about any specific aspect necessarily about the game without contextualizing the way that I see the game as a whole, and I can sum that up in 3 words, and that's forging the narrative, right? Because that phrase is used like, I don't know, a bazillion times in the rule book, forging the narrative. And I think that I don't know how long ago it was when Games Workshop said 40k is not a competitive game, 40k is not a tournament game, and they kind of, when they pulled all the support from tournaments, that's when you knew they were serious about it. When they said, we're not going to run Art Boys anymore, you're not going to qualify for Throw Skulls anymore, like, all that's the part of the hobby that we support is dead. And I still think they're trying to figure out how to have community, how they can support community without having tournaments. because the game just doesn't support it. If you want to play a competitive game out of Games Workshop, play Fantasy. Like, that game is incredible, strategic, all the things you want out of that kind of game. But for when it comes to 40K, 40K is a narrative game now. And that's supported in not only the fluff, but in the rules now. Like, when the rules now say, you know, normally 2 players will have equal points, but if you agree beforehand, you don't have to play equal points. And with Unbound and the craziness they have done with army composition, I think that's the thing, is the rest of the rule set, like, the rule set is exceptional. It's well thought out. The mechanics are well thought out. But when you start throwing the craziness that is army comp in there, this is when I look at 40K and I say, you know, this game is not that much different than all the historical games where the guys play, you know, recreating the Alamo or that sort of thing. I'm imagining people recreating Battle of, like, freaking even McCraig, like, where points is imbalanced, and, like, stuff that is iconic to our fluff and our narrative. That's kind of where Games Workshop is steering you to. Pick your favorite battle out of the Horus Heresy, or, you know, take guardsmen in your Tau army and call them Guvesa. You want to play Kroot Merciless? Go ahead. Like, you want to play a Legion of the Damned? Go ahead. You can do that. Unbound has made it so that you can play those fluffy lists. But it's also made it so that if you want to break the freaking game, you can freaking break the game. And because people are able to break the game, because everyone's able to break the game, essentially, it kind of puts the onus back on the players to say, okay, look, we made this rule set so that you can have fun with it. If you choose to play with dickbags who ruin the fun for you, that's your fault. You can always walk away from the table. And that's the approach they've taken, and you know, if this was me, like, 7 years ago, when I was, like, a competitive player, I was in there, I was, like, going to conflicts and GTs and playing the game in the way that I thought the game needed to be played, which was, like, a heavy-hitting competitive way, where you're just, you know, you roll dice to roll dice. I'd say that's fine, but now I think that the rule set, like, even when they brought in True Line of Sight again, that change of bringing in True Line of Sight, when they said, reason why I bring in True Line of Sight is because we want it to feel cinematic, the cinematic feel. That is not something that a tactical game has. There are rules for that, because in the tactical universe, when you talk about competitive games, everything is representative. Nothing is literal. But when you take a game and you make it literal, you make it literally, like, you have to go to the eye level of your model to see if you can see that thing. That's when the game the intention of the game changes. And when that shift occurred, and as it's been more and more and more, it's when I start to think, you know what, this is a game to play with beer and pretzels. This is the game to play when you want to play, like, fun games with your friends, when you want to see the craziness you can do, and what would it be like if you had 2 Primarchs fighting side by side? Well, there are Primarch models now. You can do it. There are rules for them. You can do it. You can do it.
That's what we've mainly gone for the last probably few battles that we've ever had.
Right?
Is that, like, we've just done what we wanted. We did it before, like, 7th come out, but, like, we just did what we wanted. We'd, like, put, like, a giant Nurgly demon pins. We'd have more points than the other opponent, but it'd be easier for them to take objectives and stuff. And it just, like, they just watched our battle report and just copied it.
Well,
I think that's what happened.
I think when you do fun stuff, it's engaging and it's immersive, right? So, like I can't talk about the psychic phase because I haven't played a game in this edition yet. I'm still reading the rules. I'm still getting through it. But when I look at demonology and how everyone can have demonology except Tyranids, you can't. And I look at how crazy some of the effects are. If you really want to play demonology, I look at demonology as a more true representation of the danger and craziness that is chaos, in the 40K universe. It's not a good way to play the game. It's actually a game-breaking mechanic. Demonology, it's game-breaking. But chaos is a factor in the 40K universe. We have to acknowledge that. And the weight of the School of Magic is it's incredible, and it's representative of what the fluff says this would be. And I like that. I do. I like that shift. And I think when we talk about the army composition, which is also another mechanic or another aspect of the game that feels really broken if you want to look at it from a competitive standpoint. It's super broken if you're going to try to play balanced games. But it lets you play a narrative game in a way you've never been able to before. And the old Force org has never been able to accommodate what you could truly have at a battle, because it's not like the two sides of this 40K battle in Grimdark Future agreed, okay, we're going to take this many of our troops, and we're each going to take this many of our leadership, and this is what's going to happen here for our elites, and our heavy support's going to be this many. That doesn't happen, right? You show up with what you got. And that's the other thing I like. I like the fact that with whatever you have, it doesn't matter what you have anymore. You want to play 40K? You can play 40K. You want to play all the stuff that you own together in a big mash of ugliness? Yeah, go ahead. You can do that. You have a friend who's only got a few points of stuff. You want to play that? You can play that. They can play whatever they have, even though it doesn't fit in a regular Force organization. You can play this game now. And it's that turn from when Games Workshop said in their stockholder portfolio, we are a model-making company. We make models. We don't make games. And it's clear they want people to buy their models and play with them.
The way it seems to me, I'm sure it's not their sole motivation, but it seems like they're trying to give all tournament organizers mental breakdowns. Because make a game effective competitively, you want to have it as kind of narrow and defined as possible, don't you? So then in the last edition they brought in allies, which just muddied the waters a bit, and I'm sure a good portion of tournament organisers just had heart attacks having to do all the extra calculations for that. And now, just when they've got their head around that, they say, okay, everyone can just take whatever they want now, and the tournament organisers just...
Oh, totally! You know, I have friends who organize tournaments. So I have some of my friends organize some local tournaments here, Onslaught and Out of the Basement are great local events. That I've attended, and I enjoy them, but I told them straight up, I'm like, look, I'm not going to play 40K in your events anymore. You got to throw in some other games, because you can't fix a game that is always moving, and that's the other thing. The release schedule for 40K has been new codex, it's been so ridiculous, and the cycle has been so tight. I mean, 2 years between editions, it's so crazy small now, your cycles of rules. You can't pin it down so that by the time your players pack is out 2 months in advance, let's say you're reasonably organized, you have a players pack 2 months in advance. You're gonna play 40K 2 months later. All this other shit has changed. All these data slates have come out. All of these new codexes have come out. It is it was crazy for tournament organizers last edition, but now it's unbelievable, and it kind of makes me glad that I'm not organizing tournaments anymore. Yet I will never say I'm never going to do it again, but right now I feel like my plate's really full. But seeing I want to see what the ETC is going to do with this. What is the ETC going to do with 40K, because I saw what they did to Fantasy after that new edition, and that seemed really extreme, where basically, if you weren't playing Orcs and Goblins, you had some serious limitations on your list, right? Now, with 40K, what are they going to do? I saw huge modifications to, last edition, huge modifications to Strength D weapons, when Strength D weapons were yeah, this is a thing now, it's part of the core rules, you can do it. What do you do when people show up to your tournament with 3 or 4 Helldrakes? What do you do? And I think the ultimate challenge for tournament organizers isn't just about making and I don't think it's ever been just about making an event that is fair and balanced. It's about being proud of the winner. And it's really hard to be proud of the winner of your event when they're a douchebag who takes a douchebag list.
Yeah.
By the way, in the comments, Wargamer Girl has defended herself here. She said, shoulders are the most vulnerable part of the human body.
Maybe in that universe they are. Maybe it's probably written in the lore somewhere. I might have missed it. That could be the case. But it makes sense on why they really protect that and why none of the other people have cod pieces. Like it's when you look at all the stuff that's down there, there's no protection in that area. War Machine.
Yeah, so Character Press, you better start producing some models with some really impressive cod pieces if you want to be consistent with this theory.
Yes.
Just an observation. It's just an observation. I'm just gonna say, because I remember painting one of my first Empire whatchamacallits for fantasy, and I was looking at that thing going, wow, this guy has a massive codpiece. That sculptor really, yeah, you know where his vulnerable spots are.
Also, I have another comment. Mr. Brush for Hire says that he is so not A-list.
Pretty up there.
His facial hair is somewhat A-list. I think it's just below mine on the style-ometer.
I would have to agree with the facial hair for sure. That's A-list facial hair right there. The A-list thing is just really weird. I have been, all the circle of my friends, we call ourselves J-list celebrities, so we're, further down the alphabet, almost towards the middle. I think in the circles we run, it's just, it sometimes feels like people think you're a big deal when you're really not. And I'm really not a big deal.
Yeah, being a big deal in this community is slightly different to being a big deal in other communities.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Because we support the people. We're just, as a community, we're really supportive, and that's cool, and that's awesome, and I like that. And I think that the nice thing about it is even people who we look at as big deals in our community, they're still really approachable, and they're still really they're still accessible to us, and that's really cool, and I like that a lot, and I really don't want that to go away.
I don't know if I ever become A-list. I'm not sure I'm going to be approachable. I'm just going to be on my yacht all day.
Yeah.
Oh, the yacht. I would. There is. I think if we could somehow find a way to collaborate and create a Wargamer yacht, so we could all pretend to be A-list, on that yacht together. Collectively, we would be A-list. Maybe that's the way we do it.
You'd have to have a yacht on my moat, you see, to get to my castle. That's the only way to get there.
Right? That, I'm sure there's got to be some ruined landowner right now who's got some castle, doesn't know how to handle it.
We could call it
the real estate market bubble on castles is eventually going to burst, and that's when we'll pounce.
Before we draw to the end of the show, there is something that we traditionally have to discuss on every episode.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favourite chicken product?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have my local deli sells the cold cuts aisle.
Yeah.
They have this chicken product that it's supposed to be it's supposed to represent chicken breast. You know how you get the sliced meats or whatever. This stuff is Kentucky style deli chicken is what they call it. It comes in this loaf. It literally looks like a rectangular loaf, and when you cut it, it looks like little rectangles. But they use the Kentucky Fried Chicken flavoring to season the chicken in this deli meat, and it is literally the best thing ever. It's when I pretend to be healthy, I slice that up and put it on salads, but usually I'm just I'll take a few slices and just crack it open myself and just pop it in. It's highly recommended.
If Spud could go back in time and meet one celebrity, it would be the Colonel.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact.
Oh, right? There's this thing that's happening around here now, in Canada, where KFC is now starting to stop representing like Kentucky Fried Chicken, and is actually representing this new kind of fried chicken called Korean fried chicken. Because I guess in Korea they love their fried chicken, and it is delicious. I'm Filipino, so I'm genetically predisposed to loving fried chicken. That's what we do, and so I'm a fried chicken connoisseur of my lands. So out here, I know where all the good fried chicken places are.
So I must be half Korean somehow, or something like that, because I just love chicken. I like any sorts of chicken, really.
It's pretty, it's awesome because it's so versatile after all, right?
I usually eat like tonight. I'm definitely gonna have some peri peri grilled chicken. That is.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
You know, the only way I fear for mankind on this planet is if one day Spud discovers that mankind actually splintered off from chicken at some point in the past.
I heard something the other day that was kind of interesting and kind of surprising. The closest living relative to the Tyrannosaurus Rex right now is the chicken.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about.
He'll come back.
He'll come back, yeah, right.
They were talking about
it's just down the evolution path.
They were talking about cloning dinosaurs, and I think I've never been so happy in my entire life.
But then you'd have to wait for it to turn into a chicken again.
So awesome. So what I'd have, right? So I have my castle, I have my moat, with my wargamer yacht. I've cloned the Colonel, so he's back. He's living in my castle, and also round the actual moat, just before you even get to the moat, I've got electric fences surrounded by T-Rexes.
That sounds like victory to me.
You have to get through the T-Rexes before you even get to the electric fence.
Yeah, it's the other way around, yeah.
Interesting.
It's all mind games. It's all mind games. They're like, hang on a minute, so there's T-Rexes, then the fence. Is there a secret about this?
I suppose it keeps the T-Rexes away from the moat.
Yeah, because if I'm in a like a bad mood or someone's annoying me at work, I always think and I imagine a T-Rex trying to make a bed. I think it was just amazing.
See, it put a smile on my face. Clearly, it is true.
It was so awesome.
Well, I think it's about time to wrap this one up. We've squeezed all the chicken juice out of this episode that we can, I think.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll have to get you on again at some point in the future.
Thanks so much for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. It's obviously we've got like things in real life to go, unfortunately.
Real life.
Got to go have fun, and I've got to go to work, so...
Yeah, Spud's going to work, and I'm going to be going to the UK Games Expo. Well, going down there tonight and then attending it tomorrow. So if anyone sees me there, don't run up and hug me, but run up and hug Stevie B, who'll be there with me. So hug him first.
So you have fair warning.
Yeah, he'll test you, and then if you pass, you'll get to me.
There's a frisk test that you may have to pass.
So Andy's the electric fence.
Yeah, when you get to the status of A-list, you have to be careful. You can't just go hugging anybody. There's all kinds of lunatics out there.
And that is proof that I'm not A-list because I hug everyone. Literally everyone.
Well, you've got away with it so far. Gotta be careful.
Gotta be careful.
Who knows?
Okay, guys.
So, thank you everybody else that has come this week to join in for 3 episodes of Chilling Wargamers this week.
Yeah, don't forget the Thursday episode, everybody.
Yeah, we had a Thursday episode, we had a Wednesday episode, we got this special secret episode that no one knows about. So I'd like to thank everyone that's turned up and watched this. Make sure you do click the like and leave a comment and share, and go check out Geek and Sundry and Miss Teri's channel as well. The links will be appropriate below this link channel.
And who's the guest this Thursday, Spud?
The guest this Thursday is actually confirmed. It is a gentleman called Mark from Dreamforge Games. He'll be talking about his Leviathan and all his other delicious products.
Lovely. So, until next time, folks.
Bye.